The greatest poverty over time is not money. It is the loss of our attention, the currency of consciousness. We've chosen performance over presence, productivity over people, speed over depth. We find ourselves aching for what matters most: truth, meaning, and real connection. Do you ever feel that internal ache? I've felt deeply lost and lonely in rooms full of people. But what if the key to reconnecting, to remembering viscerally your connection, is in the moments you've already lived? Not a reach outward, but a little dig inward. I believe the Japanese concept of Kizuki is the key to this reconnection. First with ourselves, then with others too. Here's how I define it. Kizuki. 1, a moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight that opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2, steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. In Japanese, the word Kizuki literally means to place your ki, your energy or attention, on something. It's the act of bringing something that was once in the dark into the light of awareness. Awareness is what reconnects us. And when shared, it creates resonance. A resonance that connects us not only with ourselves, but with the interconnectedness we share with everyone else. The way I see it, Kizuki is universal. But one thing I found fascinating is how differently it's received across cultures. In Japan, where I was born and raised, people often say to me, "Okay, so I had a Kizuki. I came to the recognition of something. Then what?" Because culturally, personal choice isn't encouraged. Social harmony comes first. The self is rather overridden by the whole. But in the West and in more individually oriented cultures, the emphasis is on choice. Choice is how we assert who we are, distinct from others. It's so natural, it's assumed. So much so that the moment before the choice, that internal realization, often goes unnoticed. But it matters. Kizuki reminds us, before the choice and action, there is a heightened awareness or clarity about the issue. And it's that awareness that instigates true change. Let me tell you how I learned this the hard way. I grew up in the suburbs of Tokyo, the youngest of 4. My mother was half American and half Japanese. After a rough divorce from my dad, within a couple of years, she started to show symptoms of offness. One day, she couldn't place a stamp on an envelope anymore. The following week, she would reach for a cup of water and completely miss the cup. She was only 47. I was 17 when such symptoms started. This was one of the most difficult, trying times of my life. Because her symptoms were unusual and her case neurologically rare, it took 2 years and 9 different hospitals before the doctors could even offer a diagnosis. When one finally did, he took my mother to a separate room and told me, my siblings, and my aunts, "We can't say for sure. We've never seen anything like this. But we'll write down young onset, atypical Alzheimer-type dementia so that we can start her on this medicine." They also said the medicine would slow the progression of the disease for a couple of years, but statistically, she had 10 years to live at best. I couldn't wrap my head around it. On the outside, life kept moving. But on the inside, my mind had me stopped at just one word. Why? 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 Why her? Why me? Why us? Why this? Why now? By age 20, I was a depressed insomniac, drowning in the relentless, torturous why. The mental loop of why was making me sick. Doctors prescribed me antidepressants and sleeping pills, but I just couldn't bring myself to take them. As fate would have it, in my dark, depressed mess, out of sheer desperation, I found yoga, and through yoga, meditation. It took me 3 whole years. But as my regular yoga and meditation practice started to create spaciousness in my mind, slowly, I began to see how my question, why, was making me sick. It wasn't that I kept asking a question without an answer. It was that even if I did somehow magically receive an answer to my whys, it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change the fact that my mother was severely ill. It was that my question was completely misaimed, that the question, why, wasn't serving me at all. That moment of clarity, realizing that my question, why, was completely misaimed, was my life-altering Kizuki, my aha moment of realization that could not be undone. From there, I started to ask different questions in my head. Well, why not her? Would it feel more just if she were 97 instead of 47? And would it make more sense if it were someone else's mother in some faraway country? It was humbling. It showed me my own ignorance and arrogance in the face of life. I later came to understand that Kizuki lives in that space, the kind of spaciousness that softens this dogged certainty, that loosens the grip of a fixed mindset or a singular way of seeing things. It opens the door to the next aha, the gateway to a new perspective. It's this Kizuki that allows us to make a new choice. I chose to release the question why that wasn't serving me. I didn't know it then, but naming that Kizuki and owning it was the first step in reconnecting with myself. Not the self I thought I was, but the one beneath all the stories. And in time, that reconnection paved the way for real connection with others. Fast forward about 10 years, I was running my yoga and wellness studio in the heart of the fashion district in Tokyo. It was Mother's Day. After class, a woman handed me a card. "Mei sensei," she said, "Happy Mother's Day. いつもありがとうございます." Thank you always. I wrote this for you. I opened it that night. In it, she thanked me, not just for my teaching, but she wrote, "I know you shared about your mother's illness and how it led you to start yoga and meditation and all your years of study in India. I want you to know I'm not just grateful for you. I'm grateful for your mother and even for her illness. Because if she hadn't gotten sick, maybe you wouldn't have started yoga. Maybe you wouldn't have opened the studio. And if you hadn't, I might never have changed the way I have. And see now how it's affecting my children and my family. In that moment, I received the answer to my whys that I never expected. Not only in words, but in the invisible expansion of impact I had unknowingly created. That's what I mean by resonance. This, a common recognition, a vibration of truth moving through our shared humanity. When it strikes, it awakens co-resonance, an inner echo that says, I know this too. That's when I started to realize something much, much bigger than me was happening. My Kizuki, it didn't end with me. It didn't stop at my mother's death or fade as the years passed. It lived on because I allowed it to change me. I let it lead to a new choice, a new action. That's how it began to ripple. First to my friends, then to the larger community. It all begins inside. A noticing, a Kizuki, a choice. Then when we own it and we live from it, something else happens. We spark something in someone else, as though a quiet contagion of Kizuki is underway. I wonder if some of you, in listening to my Kizuki story, perhaps have already started to think back on some of the most life-changing Kizuki moments in your experience. So, here's what I invite you to do. I want you to think of the top 3 Kizuki moments that shaped your life. Pick one and tell it to someone today. Maybe there's a Kizuki in you that even your partner or your best friend doesn't know about. Or maybe they know of the occurrence, but not really the insight you've gained or the new choice you made because of it. Maybe it's easier to share with a stranger. When you share your Kizuki story, you're not just reflecting. You're activating reflection in others. Your awakened awareness is a lifeline. Because when you share your Kizuki, you don't just spark connection. You become it.